What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It's Wednesday. We're going to do the Sword and Shield update, and this is going to be a little bit longer of a video, I think, so lock in. We're going to go a little bit deeper into Sword and Shield, and we're going to talk about something in this video that I honestly never expected to happen, but it has happened in regards to Sword and Shield. So I think you guys are going to find it interesting. First, though, we got to talk about Phantasmal Flames. Right after I made my video yesterday, they officially unveiled the product. So we know what the ETB, the booster box, is going to look like. We know the promo card for the ETB is going to be Char Cadet, which I believe evolves into like Armorage or Cerulege. So, I mean, it's not the most popular Pokemon. I think it's a decent ETB promo. I think PCTVs are still a great play. Obviously, this morning pre-orders were an absolute disaster with the bots and everything. Hopefully, Pokemon ultimately cancels all those orders and they set something up better for later this week. Now, to get into the booster boxes, in an effort to keep this video as short as possible, we're going to go through some of these kind of fast. So Sword and Shield base, still doing its thing. It could jump up to 700. It could stay around 600 for a while. It's really tough to tell with these boxes that don't move as frequently, but it's still in that 600-ish range. Rebel Clash, same sort of deal. Doesn't really sell too often. There aren't a ton of listings on eBay, but I think this is around like a $400, $450 box right now. Darkness Ablaze and Vivid Voltage, not the most interesting sets, but they're in a position where they could potentially both reach like $300 fairly shortly. We're going to have to watch over the next couple weeks. Something that happened this week with basically every box is that the sales volume was down on basically all of them. However, for most of the boxes, there weren't a ton of quantity listed for them, which is surprising. I would have guessed that some people, or at least more people than currently I expected, right, would be taking profits. But it seems like people have a lot of faith in these products, but maybe at these price points, people are slowing down a little bit. So that's what's happening with Darkness Ablaze and Vivid Voltage. These could potentially both reach $300 probably within a month or so. So after that, we're going to jump into Battle Styles. And by the way, every single Sword and Shield box was up this week, at least a little bit. Battle Styles is up to around $255, up 91% over the past 12 months. Now, before we go any further, I did want to jump in here and give a shout out to today's video sponsor, the Shiny app. Guys, whether you're investing in Pokemon, you're collecting Pokemon, you need to know what you have at all times. That's where Shiny comes in. It's a mobile app that helps you track your investment portfolio, whether that's sealed product, singles, or slabs. In Pokemon, they cover English, Japanese, and simplified Chinese, but they also cover other games like Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Disney Lorcana, Sorcery, One Piece, and now Gundam. In my opinion, using their app is way easier than the competition's, and also, I like that Shiny is trying to update their data more frequently than everyone else. They're updating twice a day from places like TCG Player, eBay, Card Market, and price charting. I also love the fact that they have a Discord server. You can jump in there and give recommendations to further improve the app if there's something you want them to focus on. But the absolute best part about Shiny is that it's free, so I'll leave links to the Google Play and App Store in the description down below. And thank you again to Shiny for sponsoring the video. Chilling Reign, up 172% over the year. This is up to around $563. These sets, out of all the alt art sets, have the most supply out there. Sell-through rate on a lot of these has come down, so Chilling Reign, I don't think it's going to continue moving. I do think that a couple of these alt art sets still have some potential, but it's probably not going to be Chilling Reign. Battle Styles, though, surprisingly, I think could continue to move and get close to like $300. The sales volume was very high over the past week compared to a lot of the other alt art sets, and just based on the supply, it could get there, right? So we're gonna have to wait and see over the next couple weeks to see how many boxes sell, if more boxes get listed. But I wouldn't be surprised if we have this conversation 4 weeks from now at the start of October and Battle Styles is like $280, $290. Now after that, Evolving Skies, it's gonna continue moving. This is no secret. This box, it doesn't look like it's gonna slow down anytime. When you look on eBay, you do have to scroll to the bottom, because if you go by lowest listed, initially at the top, I think there's only like a couple boxes below 2,900, but then you get to the bottom after all the cases, and then there's more listings at the bottom. That said, this box is just going to continue slowly moving up. I don't see it going stagnant at all, at least not in the short term. After that, Fusion Strike, this is kind of hitting Evolving Skies levels at this point, in the sense that I think it's going to continue slowly creeping up. The last time we had a Sword and Shield move, you can see here, this box got up to about $800, and then it actually came back down to around $715 there for a while, which was very surprising to me. I think this time around, I don't think that's going to happen. I think Fusion Strike is going to continue creeping up, or at least go sideways. I don't see there being a pullback on Fusion Strike, at least not in the short term, based on what I'm seeing in terms of the amount of boxes listed and sell-through rate. So we will be keeping an eye on that, but I think this time around Fusion is going to be a little bit closer to the way that Evolving moves. And we can also throw in Lost Origin. I think it's going to do fairly similar things to both Fusion and Evolving Skies over the next couple months in terms of its trajectory. Now, Brilliant Stars, this box, it's going to be interesting when we have our discussion here in a couple minutes talking about Brilliant Stars, but there wasn't a ton of supply out there and the sell-through rate was decent, so this box could continue moving. If it slows down, if sell-through rate continues to come down maybe over the next couple weeks, maybe it starts to go sideways at that point. We're kind of in a position where we just have to wait and see. Now after that, Astral Radiance, very surprising. This hasn't hit $400 yet. I thought for sure when all of these other Sword and Shield sets were moving that eventually Astral would get picked up, would get to around $400. I think there have been some sales at $400. Most recent one from yesterday was $400. Before that, on August 29th, we had a couple sales, $390, $402, basically $398. So there are some getting there on TCG Player. If you look on eBay, there's still a decent amount of boxes listed at like $370, $385. I think there was one as low as like $350. And honestly, that didn't make a ton of sense to me for the longest time. But after today, when I ran the numbers, it's starting to make a little bit more sense in my mind. I'll talk about what I mean there in a second. But Silver Tempest also, this is still in a position where it could continue to move. So if you're thinking about picking up Silver Tempest, this might be a decent time to do so. Now, to get into what I actually want to discuss in this video, which I thought was really interesting, I want you guys to think about this for a second. What do you think out of all the alt art sets in Sword and Shield has the lowest top 10 value? I think most people would probably point towards like a Silver Tempest, maybe an Astral Radiance. I think a lot of people would vote Battle Styles is still the lowest top 10 for all the alt art sets. So I'm going to give you guys a second to think which one is the lowest. And without further ado, we're going to look at the numbers, and it is indeed Battle Styles coming in second lowest now, guys. Not the lowest. The lowest is actually Astral Radiance, which is crazy because for the longest time, there was about $150 to $200 gap in the top 10 value between Astral Radiance and Battle Styles. But at this point, the top chase card in Battle Styles, the Tyranitar, is up to around $272. If I bring this up, most recent sales data from today. The Urshifu, we have one at $72, another one at $33. The Empoleon's around 50-ish bucks. So Battle Styles has definitely come up over the past couple months in terms of the card value, while Astral Radiance, the Machamp, still $138. That is the lowest by far in terms of the top chase out of these alt art sets. The top 5 values, still very close, but Battle Styles has an edge. And then top 10 values, again, still very close, only a $9 difference, but Battle Styles is still up there. So this was incredibly shocking for me to see. I really did not expect this to ever happen, especially when you look at Astral Radiance. There is a decent supporting cast. So the Starmie sitting around $100 at this point. The Palkia V, $60. The Garchomp V, I think this was up to what, $80, $90 at one point. Now sitting around $60. Dialga, $50-ish. The Beedrill's up there as well. So I think when you look at the cards, intuitively, a lot of people would say that Astral probably would have more expensive top 5 to 10 value, but that just isn't the case anymore. The Tyranitar has come up a lot in terms of value. I think this was like $150, $160 card for a very long time when the Machamp V, Machamp V was around the same price. So those were very similar, but then you had the supporting cast of Astral just dominating a set like Battle Styles. Now, outside of that, because I think that is interesting data, we should point to a couple other things. So Silver Tempest has also come up a ton. I think the last time we did this, or maybe a couple times ago, maybe like 6 months at this point, longer. I don't know, guys. Like time, it just blurs together at this point for me in this hobby. But Silver Tempest was actually very close to Battle Styles. And I think sometime last year, Battle Styles was like only a couple dollars below Silver Tempest in terms of top 10 value. Silver Tempest has definitely pulled away a little bit from Battle Styles. A lot of that has to do with the Lugia V now being like a $370 card, which to me makes sense. In my opinion, it's one of, if not the best alternate art card from the Sword and Shield era. I'm not saying it's one of the best investments, but I just really like the artwork. Either way, Silver Tempest, because of the Lugia, has definitely increased its value, and it's getting fairly close to Brilliant Stars at this point, only about $50-ish behind when we look at top 10 value. When we look at top 5 value, it's actually higher. And then the chase card, obviously the Lugia, is crushing the Charizard V. So I think Silver Tempest is getting to a point where it's a lot closer to a set like Brilliant than a lot of people think. And I'd say a lot of that too is reflected when you look at pack opening data. So if you use a non-TCG's Pokemon Destruction Tracker tool, whatever, Silver Tempest is always up there as one of those sets that is constantly being opened. Brilliant Stars as well is always up there. It's not like one of the top sets. A lot of the SWRS sets are dominating right now, which makes sense. But Silver Tempest in terms of Sword and Shield is usually up there. So I also wouldn't be surprised if we have this conversation like 5 years from now in 2030 or whatever, if Silver Tempest has actually overtaken Brilliant Stars at that point, or is very close in terms of market price. Now, a couple other things I want to bring your attention to before we close out the video. When we look at Lost Origin, because I don't think a lot of people look at like the card values in some of these Sword and Shield sets on a daily or weekly basis, the Gengar is up to around $35. It's a yellow border card. It's actually overtaken the alternate art Rotom V, which is very surprising to me. And then also a couple other yellow border cards, the Charizard, $22-ish now. The Pikachu, which was always kind of expensive, is around $21. And then you have the Snorlax, surprisingly, $11.50. So I wanted to point that out. And then also in Evolving Skies, if we can bring this up here, for the longest time, this set was dominated by the Evolution VMAXs, and you still have the Umbreon VMAX up top, $1,400. The Leafeon VMAX is up there as well, $361. But the Umbreon V has made a massive move over the past month. We talked about this yesterday or the day before, up around 55% over the past month. Also, the Dragonite V, which for the longest time, I think was like the 10th or 11th most expensive card in Evolving Skies, is now in the top 5. It's a $335 card. I don't know if this is because people viewed this card as undervalued for the longest period of time. Maybe it has to do with the Mega Dragonite coming out in the new games or TCG sets, whatever. Either way, it's overtaken the Sylveon VMAX by a decent amount at this point. Same thing with the Glaceon, the Rayquaza V. The VMAX is still crushing at around $700-ish, but I figured I'd bring that to your attention as well. And then the final thing, which we're going to go more in depth in on Friday, but Crown Zenith ETBs, because we do the Friday update as ETBs, but this is around $200 now. Kind of makes sense to me. I've been saying over the past couple weeks that outside of 151, Crown Zenith is like the only other set that probably deserved to make a move up, and we have seen sales exactly $200 and sales up to around $215 from yesterday, but I think that's a little bit high right now. $200, $205 is probably a fair range for Crown Zenith ETBs. Now after that, 151 ETBs getting close to $400, and actually we have sales right there at $400. This is from a couple days ago. 4 sold directly at $400, and most recent from today, $399.99 2 quantity sold. So 151 ETBs, they're like the Evolving Skies booster box, the SVR. They just continue to move up. There really is no stopping this product. And then also Paldean Fates, this is up to around $250 for an ETB, and we even have sales as high as $299.99. I do think that's a little bit high, but this box all day now is $250. It's going to continue pushing $260. It's probably going to move up slower than something like 151 and maybe Crown Zenith in the short term. In terms of percentage over the next month, it's probably going to outperform it, but long term, the sky is the limit for a set like Paldean Fates and a set like 151. But that's going to be it for the video. You guys let me know in the comments down below what you think. Also, if you got some value to this content, I'd really appreciate if you leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. It helps out a ton. With all that said, thank you guys so much for watching the video. Stay safe wherever you are in the world, and I'll catch you in the next one.